Hey everybody, Stippling here with a look at set number 71316, Umarak the Destroyer, the big bad of the 2016 summer wave of Bionicle. I'm a little scared to look at his parts, but I am armed. This piece got a little dirty in the packaging. Before we get started, let's just take a quick look at the instruction manual, which the instructions themselves go all the way to page 48, and then afterwards you have an inventory of parts, an advertisement for the main storyline of 2016, detailed, not instructions so much as detailed images of the combination model utilizing all 4 of the villains, and a quick advert for the Star Wars CCBS line. That's it! Let's quickly take a look at some of these parts. As is the theme of this summer 2016 wave, we have the return of the 2015 Brainstock, this time in a trans neon reddish orange. Brand new part alert, we have 4 of these regular sized upper limb pieces molded in trans neon greenish yellow. This would also appear to be a new mold this summer, 4 claw pieces molded in trans neon greenish yellow. This is the first extra-wide breastplate piece to reappear in a set, originally being in Onua 2015, now again in this wave. A ribcage armor piece in gunmetal gray, this first appeared in General Grievous and now has another appearance here. 3 neon greenish yellow ribcages. No more Skull Scorpio. We get 2 of Umarak's infamous shadow traps in this set. We have a pair of stickers this time around which will be applied to the chest plate. As with every summer 2016 Bionicle set, we have the Bionicle head in trans neon greenish yellow. This is a new piece for 2016, 2 crystalline armor pieces in trans neon greenish yellow. These armor pieces do not have any additional pegs for attachments to them, so the texture on them is all you get. The lone mask of this set comes in the form of Umarak's twisted iteration of the Mask of Control. This mask is officially described as the Beast Mask of Corruption, but I believe that description is used universally for all the beasts. This twisted Mask of Control is molded in gold and blended into trans neon greenish yellow. With the upper part of this mask comes a lower jaw which will be attached to the Brainstock and used to pop off the mask. As with all the other sets, this is molded in gunmetal gray. What I've shown you is a mere glimpse at the plethora of parts we have here, but I'm not going to make you wait any longer, let's build this. This is a very early stage of the build, and before we even attach any bone pieces, we've already got this craziness attached to this gearbox. Let's see a little bit further. That's never coming off. He's getting bigger! Which way is up again? That's bad! The king of all custom limbs. In the instructions, they expect you to balance this guy on one leg. Okay, now they're just showing off. And there he is! Oh wait, there's more? Okay, let's keep going. Big gear is big. Make sure you get this just right. This would be the correct positioning. Hey, do you like my custom torso? Oh, that's a hand? Oh, my god. And that's one arm done. I'm breaking out in a sweat with all of this. This would once again be the correct configuration. That looks proper. You'd think I get used to this by now. I like your beard, bruh. Mask first, ask questions later. Oh my goodness, that's terrifying. Okay, so remind me never to put on the Mask of Control, no matter how desperate I get. Let me just get this out of the way. I love this thing. It looks incredible. The set designers really went beyond what they had to do to create something truly epic. I love the color scheme, and I think the transition from trans green to trans neon greenish yellow is natural and really conveys the corruption of this character. Despite his nightmarish exterior, I can't help but feel bad for Umarak. This looks like it hurt. Even without following the storyline, a kid would know, seeing this mask on this character's face, that something went wrong. So let's start with the basics. Mask pop-off. He's got one, but not where you'd expect. Brainstock doesn't do much to help him here. The mask pop-off doesn't work well, primarily due to the weight of everything in front of it. So you basically have two options. Either grab his horns and pull, or hook your crystalline blade under his jaw and pull. The Destroyer does not come with any alternative mask, but this guy does not even need it. I can't help but feel like the Hunter mask in Akimu's set should have gone in here though. Umarak's primary form of articulation comes through his gear function on his bottom, which does what every other gear function on the bottom does, twists the torso. And despite the crazy bulk on the top, he still does this very effectively. The secondary gearing comes from Umarak's monstrous claws, which open and close like a claw machine. This works great, but these gears can sometimes easily slip apart. Hard play would really cause problems for this. As far as I could tell, the only descriptive term used for Umarak's claws is claws. Do they really need a better name? Umarak's head looks great, and I love that the red of the eyes comes through. The horns look really good too, and they really define the chaos that this mask has wreaked on his body. There are only a few things that I dislike about it. First thing would be these open holes here. I wouldn't have minded these being filled up with something else. The second problem with Umarak's head comes from the lack of good posability for it. Because Umarak's head is mounted on this large Technic construction, there's not really much you can do with it. It can turn left a bit until the horns interfere, same with right. Can't really look up. It sure can look down though, and the Destroyer will be looking down on his victims. While we're looking at the neck, you can kind of see that it's strange. They opt to not do a very good job of hiding the Technic construction, and they kind of just tack on these black armor pieces to compensate for it. It only really looks bad from this angle though. The only thing I wish is maybe it was mounted on a ball joint so you could kind of swivel this whole thing. It would get you some really interesting poses if it was. The only thing I consistently dislike with some of these sets is the fact that you can see the ball joint in his mouth. It's not too bad from most angles, but it can be strange. I like what they did with these angled black armor pieces to slope his shoulders downward. Working our way slowly down the body, you can see these pauldrons are attached. Unlike in the Winter Wave, these are not movable, they are mounted and stuck on there. And you'll see on his right pauldron, he still has his iconic chain. We looked briefly before at his chest piece, which is decorated with a pair of stickers, and I think it looks good. I am a fan of this large chest piece when appropriate, and I think they do a good job of using it here. It really bleeds down into the trans neon rib cage and looks good to me. The arms do a fairly good job of hiding the Technic construction underneath. I like how the upper half is primarily dominated by trans colors, while the lower half has black on it. That little exposed axle kind of gets on my nerves though. Each finger not only is mounted to this gearing system, but also to individual ball joints so they can be adjusted and posed accordingly. This can really get some great dynamic poses out of it. The top half of the arm is a swivel joint, so it allows for some really cool poses, and despite the huge size of these hands, the arms do a very good job of holding everything up. I never feel like there's a problem with it, and I always feel like my pose will stay put. Umarak's arms are really not hindered by any kind of posability restrictions. They can move in pretty much any direction you can imagine. The waist and upper legs are fairly simplistic, but I like it. It looks like the whole legs were kind of stretched and pulled and the muscles were ripped from their default positions. It really showcases how chaotic the lower legs are when the upper legs seem less muscular. The legs are very inhuman looking, but that just adds to the effect of this character. I like how, despite how technicky this is, they really do a good job of hiding a lot of it. Umarak's leg can pretty much move any way you can think of. His knee can move pretty much all the way up, and his ankle can even rotate. Umarak still has his signature two-toed foot, and it looks great here as well. The Destroyer's feet are actually 2 feet, one large foot and one smaller one held together through an axle. This allows for a double-jointed ankle region that actually doesn't have that much articulation to it, but gives enough movement, especially side to side. The back of Umarak looks arguably just as good as the front, with pretty decent coverage with only a few exposed regions. Of note would be this 5-length Technic beam that kind of sticks out, as well as these small gaps in the legs. The extra bit of coverage that his back has is great. There's nothing really strikingly bad here except that big hole in the middle. As with many large creations, Umarak's inner chest is actually very hollow. Let's see it from a better angle. Not much to see in there, folks. Comparing Umarak the Hunter to Umarak the Destroyer, it's very clear who's who. With these two back to back, you can also notice the one thing that's missing from the original Umarak, that would be his bow. Obviously with giant crab claws, you may not need a bow, or you may not be able to hold a bow. It would be fun to try to mount Umarak the Hunter's 2 weapons on Umarak the Destroyer, just for fun. I do really like the horns on the original Hunter better though. These 2 leg constructions are very similar, but I gotta give it to the new leg construction. It just looks better. Less blue pins in there as well. Umarak the Hunter's mask does fit on this figure, so that allows for some additional options. This is a quick comparison of the 2 masks of control. The one on the left is obviously the original, while the one on the right is the new one. I really like how the original symbols are present and preserved in the new one. There's not really all that many bad things I can say about this figure. For his immense size and stature, he really holds his own. The silhouette of this model is striking and fierce. He's built up tough and looks like he can destroy anything in his path. The little bits of gappiness in the figure can really be overlooked, and I do not think I could do much better of a job in conveying the size of a figure. I love the color scheme, the claw grabbing function, and the way the legs are built up. The neck would probably be my only complaint, and I'm not really sure what I would do to fix it other than what I said about maybe adding a ball joint to it. The only technical complaint I could offer is that the teeth on the 2 gears on the hands don't quite line up. This can cause problems with rough handling and posing. This was the one figure that I was unconditionally excited to have, and I never for one moment thought it was a bad one. I'm very happy to add this to my collection, and it is a very great centerpiece model. The posing on this figure is limitless, and I can only imagine what each of you will do with him. I recommend choking some Toa. For its size, I probably went through this review a little too quickly. So tell me what your thoughts are on the figure and anything I might have missed. Do you like the color scheme change from Umarak the Hunter to the Destroyer? Do you think his size in any way impaired the aesthetic of the figure? Do you like the claws, or did you prefer weapons? Do you think the gappiness on the figure diminishes from it, or do you think it's a necessary evil for a figure of this size? Lastly, is Umarak the Destroyer awesome or what? As a side note, this will probably be the last review you see for a little while. At the time of the recording of this video, the availability of Quake Beefs is quite limited. I can't wait to hear each of your thoughts on Umarak the Destroyer, and as always, thanks for watching.